Chapter 10, verses 1 through 94. 1. Consider the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, so that you follow them and lead a good life. 2. This is the teaching of the true prophets who bring you words that are full of wisdom. 3. It appears wonderful to you that a prophet from your midst proclaims the truth, admonishes, warns you, and also announces a joyful message to you. However, do not be self-righteous, arrogant, and do not believe, that you take on a special importance, rank, differing from other people of your kind, fellow human beings, because you may happen to possess more goods and riches or are in a position of authority. And do not view the true prophet as someone who might not be someone of your kind, a human being, and therefore do not view him as a charlatan or as a practitioner of suggestive spells and acts, magician. And learn what he teaches you in the name of the truth, so that you may follow the teaching and things may go well with you. For truly, you have proceeded from the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, which set you into existence, life, as an inspiration, idea, at the start of your present existence. And it as the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, is the one which, in prehistory, primeval times, created the expanded endless space and all firmaments, universe, and all earths, worlds, planets, and all lights in the firmament, celestial bodies, etc., and created the laws and recommendations for the guidance of the entirety whole. 5. You have proceeded from the inspiration, idea, of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and therefore you are animated through its breath, spirit form, so that you are a minute part of itself which will return to it at the end of all time, and this promise is truthful. Truly, the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, brought all life forth in prehistory, in the origin, all presence, existence, all kinds of life forms, and everything that is. And it created the law of appearing, becoming, and fading, passing equals becoming and passing, by means of which it renews everything time and time again, so that life may go on, continue, in reawakening, being reborn. 6. It is through the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, that the sun shines a brightly beaming light, and the moon gives forth its shimmer. And it is through them that the sun, the moon, and the lights in the firmament, celestial bodies, have their course, track, by means of which you can calculate the time and determine the directions of the winds, compass directions. And in truth, all this is created by the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and given to you as a sign, orientation, so that you may form knowledge from it. 7. Truly, the change of day and night, and everything that has been called into life in the firmaments, universe, and on the earths, worlds, planets, through the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, are signs, evidence, for you of the presence of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. And truly you only have to comprehend, recognize them, and interpret them correctly. 8. But if you are not willing to use the signs, evidence, and everything given through the primal power, creation, for your knowledge, and you are instead simply well or halfway, satisfied with the life in this world, and you reassure yourselves by simply failing to heed the signs, evidence, then you are truly not well off. 9. Those of you who are unheeding of the signs, evidence, of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, you will not create true love and freedom in yourselves for this reason, and neither will you have peace and consonance, harmony, because you will only have lovelessness, unpeace, unfreedom, bondage, and dissonance, disharmony, which you acquire for yourselves. 10. However, those others who are knowing, conscious, in the truth and in the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and who do good deeds, they are led, guided, in equitableness, fairness, righteousness, conscientiousness, and as fair ones, responsibility-conscious ones, for the sake of their truth knowledge. Through them flow streams of blissfulness, happiness and joy, as well as of inner peace, love and freedom, and of consonance, harmony. 11. Their thoughts honor the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and life, and their greeting will always be peace and wisdom, and their thanks belong to the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. 12. and those amongst you who accelerate every calamity and every terrible thing. As you also wish to accelerate the accumulation of riches, your fixed time of life is flowing past senselessly, because you live an existence life of continuous hoping that goes unfulfilled, because you find yourselves in haphazard confusion, and, in your delusion, you do not see either the true life, its benefit, success, or the advantages. 13. And those amongst you who are believers in gods or tin gods, you fall down on your knees and make entreaties and call on them if misfortune strikes you, and you do this irrespective of whether you are lying on your side, standing or sitting. But truly, your gods or tin gods cannot take away your unfortune, because they are only fabulations, inventions. Therefore you must continue helplessly on your way, as if you had never called upon them, and not begged for liberation from the calamity that has struck you. 14. And truly, you commit outrages, you are acting with Goblet, in your belief assumptions, in your gods or tin gods, and you destroy other clans, families, groups, tribes, and peoples in battles, wars, involving evil pillaging, spreading of calamity, and bringing about destructions which exceeds all monstrousness. 15. Truly, consider that you shall keep freedom and peace amongst people of your kind, humankind, on your world, because no law of the primal power, creation, commands that you shall wage battles, wars, just as no recommendation of the primal power, creation, recommends killing. However, if you do wage battles, wars, then you are acting just as much against all the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, as when you kill, murder, in Ausartung, which means if it is not done in self-defense in order to save life. 16. If you recognize the clear signs, evidence, of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, in the appearance, nature, or in other things and know how to interpret them, then do not attempt to change them outrageously against the truth, to your false favor, because it is not for you to want to change things that are against the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. But if you try to do so nevertheless, then do not be amazed if you suffer great harm which you bring down upon yourselves. Only follow what is obvious, recognizable to you through the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, because truly you will otherwise suffer evil, calamity, and great harm. 17. If the real truth were not the real truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, then it would not be presented to you through the prophets, nor would it be proclaimed to you in any other wise. And truly, before this life your prophet already lived as another person of your kind, another personality, a lifetime of people of your kind, human lifetime, amongst you, and taught the teaching of the prophets. Do you not want to finally understand? 18. And consider that it is malicious if lies and slanders, calumnies are fabulated, invented against the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and against its laws and recommendations, or if its signs, evidence, are treated as lies. Truly, those who do this make themselves guilty towards the truth, and so it will certainly not go well with them. 19. Do not honor what can neither harm nor benefit you, such as gods or tin gods, servant of tin gods, and those who raise themselves up as envoys or appointees, substitutes, of gods or tin gods, or raise themselves up as such. Truly, if you do this, then everything is only lies and calumny against the truth, and you are attempting thereby to place yourselves, people of your kind, human beings, or your gods or tin gods next to the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. 20. Truly, in prehistoric, primeval times, all people of your kind, humankind, formed a single people of many bloods, races, in the extent of your world worldwide, but then they became disunited and began to fight, wage war against each other. 21. And they divided themselves up into many peoples and fabulated gods and tin gods for themselves, whom they set up over themselves, and to whom they offered prayers and supplications, as has continued until your time, today, because you still worship gods and tin gods and slander the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation itself. 22. And if people of your kind, human beings, are struck by unfortune, then you let them taste your false benevolence, humanity, If you give alms gifts, only in order to assuage your own admonishment conscience, and in order to shine before people of your kind, fellow human beings, whilst you forge attacks against the signs, evidence of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and offend against everything that is rightful, such as love and peace, freedom and consonance, harmony, as well as all dignity and respect, honorableness. 23. Truly, only the truth is the great value of the life, and only the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, render you capable, enable you through your inventive spirit, to travel over the land, to take ship over the sea, and to fly through the airs like birds. But truly you bring forth no gratitude for this. 24. You do not give thanks for anything that is given through the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. And neither are you thankful if you are rescued from distress and fear, misery and danger by the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. Rather than gratitude, you only know Goblet terror, which you perpetrate against people of your kind, human beings, and against your worlds without right. But truly, your entire acts of Goblet are always only directed against yourselves. Truly, you should be fair ones, responsibility-conscious ones, and righteous ones, conscientious ones, so that you may enjoy the good gifts of the life here below, but instead of this you wreak calamity all around, and so you only experience the harm that you cause. 25. Your earthly life is like water, rain, that falls from the clouds and then mixes with the soil and the vegetation of earth from which people of your kind, human beings, and your livestock and all animals and other creatures feed until, when earth stands in its adornment, in blossom, and appears beautifully cleaned, and you all assume, believe, that you have might over it, inequitable, irresponsible, and unrighteous, conscienceless. Rulers come and turn everything into a mown field, wage war, and destroy, as if nothing had existed on the day before. Truly, this is a sign, evidence, as an allegory, comparison, which you shall strive to contemplate. 26. Lend your ears to the teaching of the prophet, so that you may learn peace from them and find the right path. 27. And if you do good things for peace and freedom, as well as for love and consonance, harmony, then you will receive the best reward for it, and even more prosperousness, boon, so that neither gloom nor ignominy will cover your face, because you will be the carriers of a paradise, place of happiness, in yourselves. 28. If, however, you do evil, then evil will also strike you in equal measure, and you will also be covered by ignominy, and therefore there will be no one there to protect you, because it will be as if your face were covered, as if you did not exist, with dark shreds of night, parts of darkness. 29. And consider the equitableness, fairness, that will come to you if you recognize the truth that this is only given in the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, however not with the gods and tin gods whom you worship. And if you become knowing conscious of the truth, then you sink down in shame, because you followed the delusional teachings of the false prophets and have worshipped gods and tin gods. 30. And if you become knowing of the truth and want to prove this, then you can call the truth as a witness and explain it with its signs, evidence, as is not possible through gods and tin gods, because they can give no sign, evidence, of their presence, existence, because hazy constructions, figments of the imagination, are without power and cannot bring either benefit, success, or harm. 31. In the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, you can experience what comes forth from all the activity of your thoughts and feelings and from your actions, so you can already determine before acting what shall be with regard to the decision, effect, that comes forth from the condition, cause, so you do not falsify anything and you are not lost in your consideration, control. 32. It is only through the activities of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, that you are supplied with food from the earth. Although you have Goblet over your eyes and ears, it is nevertheless only through the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, that the might is given for living things to be brought forth and vegetation, plants, to thrive, because through them all things are guided according to their kind. Therefore, in this and in all things of existence, life, you need the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. and without them and their activities you could not breathe, exist. 33. And everything in the extent of all firmaments, universe, and all earths, worlds, planets, and all kinds of life, life forms, is the presence, existence, of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation itself, because it is the inner world of all inner worlds and of all firmaments, universal consciousness. Therefore do not live an erroneous assumption, and do not reject the truth that it alone is the might of all mights in all firmaments, universe, and of all presence, existence. Be drawn away, turn yourselves away, from all untruth and iniquity, unfairness, from unrighteousness, consciencelessness, and therefore from your gods and tin gods which can neither help you nor harm you. 34. Do not be indignant ones against the truth. Rather prove yourselves to be true as people of your kind, human beings, so that you may give honor and dignity for your kind. 35. Consider that amongst all your gods, tin gods and demons, all of whom you have fabulated and fabulate, have invented and invent, there is none which can bring forth, create, life or a created creation, life form, or any presence, existing thing. Let it decay and become again. Truly, it is only the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, which through their activities bring forth, create, everything. Let it decay and renew again. Truly, it is therefore necessary to ask why you let yourselves be drawn away, turn away, from this through fabulated, invented gods and tin gods. 36. And consider that amongst your gods and tin gods there is none, because they are all fabulated, invented, which could guide you to the truth, because truly a guidance to the truth can only be found in the signs, evidence, of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. And it is only through it that you are led, guided, in dignity to the truth. And the teaching of the prophets shows you the way to it if you are unable to find the way out of your own. But truly, even if you are led, guided, onto the right way through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, then you will have to take the way yourselves and lead, guide yourselves, because your own striving and your own perseverance is your kingdom of heaven. 37. However, if you are searching for the truth and love to learn it, then search for it in the truth teaching of the true prophets, so that you do not simply follow an expectation assumption, because an expectation assumption does not serve any purpose towards the truth. 38. And consider that when you hear the teaching of the prophets, then it is not created in such a wise that it could have been concocted, hatched, invented, in untruth, because truly it is based in the truthly laws and recommendations, and in their activities as they are given through the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. And the truth teaching is a confirmation and explanation of that which precedes everything as condition, cause, through the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, from which the outcome, result, effect, comes forth, equals in accordance with causality, i.e. cause and effect. And there is no doubt about this. Also that in it everything is assigned to appearing, becoming, and waning, passing equals becoming and passing. 39. Truly, the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life is not fabulated, invented, but it is based in the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, which you can recognize, see, in the appearance, nature. If you only go forth with open eyes and ears and natural in the striving sense, and in an undisguised, truthful, wise, and perceive all signs, evidence, that are given openly, visibly, in the appearance, nature. 40. Do not reject this cognition. Rather comprehend it so that you also comprehend its true meaning, so that you learn from it and can also instruct those who are still unknowing and who deny the truth. 41. And truly, there are many amongst you who are partially connected to the truth, but do not understand it in its value. Therefore you shall strive to become knowing, conscious, and wise in the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, and that things go well with you and your existence. Life is joy and happiness, and do not allow your striving sense to be depraved by those who are disapproving towards the truth teaching and who are unfair ones, irresponsible ones, unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones, as well as truth deniers and slanderers, calumniators, of the truth. 42. And if they accuse, blame you of lying, continue to do your good deed of learning and instructing the truth, because it is a deed that you do both for yourselves and for people of your kind. Next one's fellow human beings. And you are indeed solely responsible for everything that you create in terms of thoughts and feelings, as well as for everything that you do in actions and deeds. And equally, all other people of your kind, human beings, are themselves responsible for everything that they harbor in thoughts and feelings and that they complete in actions and deeds, irrespective of whether they are fair ones, responsible ones, or unfair ones, irresponsible ones, righteous ones, conscientious ones, or unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones. 43. Be at all times fair, and help those with instruction in the truth, if they lend you their ear, even if they are unfair ones, irresponsible ones, and unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones, because the only thing of significance, importance, is their will to search for the real truth, to listen to it, and to learn it. Although you cannot make the deaf hear or the blind see, nevertheless, you can bring those who are unknowing of the truth to understanding through your instruction. 44. And whether there are many or few who look to you and want to be instructed, taught by you, even if they are hard of understanding, so you shall instruct them as often and as frequently as is necessary for them, so that they understand the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, and can follow it. 45. And if you instruct, teach, people of your kind, fellow human beings, then see to it that they no longer cause any unright to themselves and to others, and that they can liberate themselves from their own unright in themselves. 46. See that you are good to one another and care for, maintain, love and connectedness, and be ready at all times to treat those amongst people of your kind. Next one's fellow human beings, as equals to yourselves, even if they are not knowing of the truth, but are unfair ones, irresponsible ones, and unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones, because nevertheless they have the same rights to be treated like the fair ones, responsibility-conscious ones, and righteous ones, conscientious ones. 47. And if they are searching for fulfillment in the truth, then show them the way that they may take in order to achieve, acquire, proof, knowledge through the signs, evidence of the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation. 48. And if you have to decide between right and unright, then you can only find a way to it through your true discernment, rationality, and through your cognition, intellect, as well as through the knowledge and the wisdom that you gain from the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation, because it is only through them that you can let equitableness, fairness, prevail, so that nobody suffers unright. 49. And if you give promises, then these shall also be carried out if you are truthful, sincere. 50. Certainly you alone have might over your own prosperity or adversity of your inner world, consciousness, and your psyche, as well as of your body. Therefore you must care for, protect, look after everything yourselves, because there is neither a god, nor a tin god, nor a demon who has might over it, because all of them are only hazy pictures, fantasies. Therefore do not delay in liberating yourselves from them. Rather turn yourselves immediately to your own might, so that you may use it diligently, aware of your obligations. And you are your own teacher, master, and you do not remain behind, deteriorate in misery, in your unfolding evolution. 51. Truly, you cannot escape your unfolding evolution without making yourselves into guilty ones in yourselves and being unfair ones, irresponsible ones, and unrighteous ones, conscienceless ones, because it is through the laws and recommendations of the primal power creation that the compulsion for unfolding evolution is given to you, so that you may gather knowledge and wisdom. 52. Do not wait until death is hard on your heels before you strive for the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life. Rather be connected to it, learn about it during the time of your life, and foster the demand of the compulsion for higher values of unfolding evolution. 53. Learn the truth and do not continue to be malefactors, irresponsible ones, against the truth concerning the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and life, so that you do not create evil retaliation in yourselves for what you do wrong through hating yourselves and harboring unpeace, dissonance, disharmony, and unfreedom, bondage in yourselves. 54. And truly, It is the truth that you cannot put an end to lovelessness and unpeace, or to dissonance, disharmony, and unfreedom, bondage, in yourselves if you do not extensively turn to the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and if you do not follow them and live according to them. 55. If you commit unright and were the possessor of all the riches that are on earth, then when you are near the time of your death, you will attempt to buy yourselves free from death. And truly you would make a play of fallacious remorse if you could escape death thereby. But truly all this will bring you no benefit, success, because death does not allow itself to be fooled or cheated. Life and death decide according to equitableness, fairness, and not according to unright. Therefore with death the same foreordination, destiny, is determined for all people of your kind, human beings. 56. Know that everything that is in the firmaments, universe, as well as on earth and on the earths, worlds, planets, and on the lights in the firmament, celestial bodies, etc., is the work of the sole primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and its promise is life and true love, but most of you do not understand it. 57. It is the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, which gives life and brings about death to everything persisting, existing, through its all-embracing laws and recommendations, so that everything may come about anew in reawakening, new birth and rebirth, and will one day return to it, because everything belongs to it and has come forth from it. 58. Now, once again, an admonishment is brought to you people of your kind, human beings, through the prophet, so that you become open to the knowledge and the wisdom of the truth, and have healing in your wrong thinking regarding your gods, 10 gods and demons, so that you create true love and peace in yourselves, as well as freedom and consonance, harmony, in order to carry everything forth outwards in the same wise amongst all people of your kind, human beings. 59. May everything be done in kindheartedness and benevolence, humanity, so that you and all people of your kind, humanity, may take joy in life and lead an existence, life, in dignity, respect, honorableness, as well as in gladness and in happiness, and you can build up, increase your well-being. 60. Consider that you must first think for yourselves and care for yourselves so that you may be well and are of good courage. But if you are growing outstanding normal in your inner world consciousness and in your psyche, and if you are open-minded and scathed healthy, and if you have sufficient for your provision, food, clothing, goods, money, then also remember people of your kind, next one's fellow human beings, and give them your alms and gifts, donations, in the measure which they need. 61. And consider that you shall be educated in your inner world, consciousness, so that you are able to stand by people of your kind, fellow human beings, no matter what their circumstances that are giving them grief in their inner world, consciousness, and psyche. 62. But do nothing of this if you do not have knowledge, and you are not skillful concerning, you do not understand the inner world, consciousness, and the psyche, so that you do not bring about any harm to people of your kind, fellow human beings. Bear witness at all times only with your knowledge and your wisdom, and leave aside whatever you do not understand, because if you do not act in this wise, then you will only cause harm, because truly you cannot afford even a speck of dust of a weight in things which you do not comprehend, understand. 63. And those whom you stand by helpfully in any things whatsoever shall experience true joy and well-being, and not be plagued by fear. 64. Therefore, you shall provide adequate help to all in equitableness, fairness, and in true knowledge as well as in true wisdom, so that the one searching for help can rely on it. 65. Consider in this at all times the unchangeability of the words of the truth, because only they are helpful in need and a joyful message for anyone who is looking for help. 66. Do not sadden people of your kind, fellow human beings, through incorrect or evil speeches, but always have might over it, so that you do not become bad-mannered, offensive, personal. 67. Consider that whatever you say always falls back on you yourselves, both in good and in evil. Therefore only ever speak about the real truth, and therefore also of the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. And teach the truth that gods and 10 gods shall not be called upon, because all of them are only fabulations, inventions. Because truly whoever believes in gods and 10 gods is only following a hazy picture, delusion. since it is a mere assumption and no truth is obtained. 68. Truly, it is only in the truth that you find the signs evidence of the occurrence reality. Therefore, only search for them, if you are able to search for them. 69. Be at all times sufficient, adequate, commensurate to yourselves, so that you do not search for completeness, sufficiency, in others who, as people of your kind, human beings, do things that you lack, that you cannot do. So you admire, cheer, and worship them, because truly such doing is unworthy of people of your kind, human beings, because you debase, humiliate yourselves. At all times practice contentment, modesty. If you pay deference, honorableness, to people of your kind, fellow human beings, so that you do not admire, cheer, and worship them, and do not raise them up as gods in blindness, fanaticism. Truly, you also have no guarantee that you are truthfully esteemed by those to whom you offer, show your admiration, cheer, and worship in blindness, fanaticism, because they only want to appear brilliant before you, to be admired, cheered, and worshipped, and to wring gain profit out of you. 70. And those amongst them whom you admire, cheer, and worship in your blindness, fanaticism, they invent lies that they do not want your admiration, cheer, and worship in your blindness, fanaticism, whilst continuing to bathe in it, and to believe themselves esteemed, honored, fond. 71. But truly, in this world their pleasure in it is of brief duration, because if they step out of line, commit an error, then they are trodden down by those who previously earlier admired, cheered, and worshipped them. 72. Truly, if the words of the truth and of the admonishments are annoying to you, then they are only annoying because you cannot comprehend, understand the truth. You do not want to hear it, and because the deepest darkness reigns in your cognition, intellect, and in your true discernment, rationality, as it also is in the case of the gods and tin gods to whom you pray and before whom you fall down, go down on your knees. And you do not want to accept the truth that they are only fabulations, inventions, and without power to benefit or harm you. And if the true prophet lets you know the truth about this, then you undertake attacks, assaults on him, slander him with accusations of lying, persecute him, and try to kill him. So you give yourselves no time to hear and learn the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life from him. 73. Never turn your back on the truth. Rather, always remember that it is only through the truth that benefit, success, can truthfully be granted, and that a fair reward only springs forth from it. 74. Therefore, do not reject the teaching of the prophets as is brought to you by your prophet. The teaching is that of the truth, that of the Spirit, that of the life, by means of which you can rescue yourselves from all unrighteousness, consciencelessness, and from your unfairness, irresponsibility. 75. But do not search for the truthfully truth in the false teachings of the false prophets, in their gods and tin gods, and in their priests, servants of gods and servants of tin gods, because they cannot provide any signs, evidence, of their belief, assumptions, and of their godliness, religion, and their fabulated, invented gods and tin gods, because their belief is only a hazy picture, delusion. And they reject the real truth of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, and of its laws and recommendations, and are therefore doers of misdeeds against the truth, because they put it under a seal, deny it. 76. The signs, evidence, and the teaching of the truth of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, has always been brought to you in your heads, rulers, lords, as it is also brought today, but those who came before you disregarded and rejected everything, as you also disregard the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life. 77. And as you disregard the teaching of the truth, you have since time immemorial also disregarded the true prophets and have slandered them as evident practitioners of suggestive spells and acts, magicians, because they have been able to give you incomprehensible things and signs, manifestations of the consciousness powers, through the truth of the power of their inner world consciousness, which you in your undiscernment, unintellect assume, regard, to be suggestive trickery, magic, and activities of the shadow world, activities of hell. 78. Truly, however, it is not suggestive trickery, magic, nor is it activities of the shadow world, activities of hell, which is given to you through the true prophets as a sign, evidence, of the truth. Rather, it is signs, evidence, of the power of their inner world consciousness, that they show you, so that you may learn and recognize the truth. And truly the powers of the inner world consciousness are not the same as the acts of trickery, legerdemain, as are presented to you by impostors and charlatans. 79. And the true prophets do not come to you in order to deceive you, but in order to instruct you in the truth, so that you may draw yourselves away, turn away, from your false gods and tin gods, so that only the truth may prevail over you. 80. Trust in all times in the truth, and do not allow temptations of unfairness, irresponsibility, and unrighteousness, conscienceless, to arise in you. 81. Rescue yourselves from your unknowledgeness, and turn yourselves to the truth, so that you may live your life in equitableness, fairness, and accountability, conscientiousness, as fair ones, responsible ones. 82. Therefore it is recommended to you that you be steadfast in the truth, and that you henceforth no longer follow the way of unknowledgeness. 83. Do not persecute people of your kind, human beings, against all right and in enmity if they do not share your willingness, since are not of your people, of your skin color or of your opinion, and are not of your avowal, knowledge, or belief. Because however and whoever they may be, they are the same as you and therefore people of your kind, human beings. And as such they do not need your persecution, but rather your protection. 84. Rescue all who are in misery in the body, in the life, in their inner world consciousness, and in their psyche, so that you may be helpful and set a sign, evidence of your kind-heartedness, and that you follow the truth teaching. 85. And if you are in any doubt about what the true prophets teach you, then ask those who have long since been following the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life as it is taught by the prophets, because truly they can bear witness that much benefit, success, and bearableness of the life is given to them through following the teaching of the prophets, as well as love and joy, happiness and internal and external freedom, consonance, harmony, and real freedom. 86. Therefore, do not listen to those who reject the truth teaching and are thereby in themselves lost ones. 87. And if you teach the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life to people of your kind, fellow human beings, then do not coerce their decisiveness, will, to learn it, because otherwise they will not become true, knowing, and wise ones with regard to the truth, but merely believers who live in a hazy picture, delusion, and who lack cognition, rationality, and true discernment, intellect. So they are unable to understand the truth teaching. 88. Truly, no people of your kind, human beings, can become knowing, conscious, and wise if they are not afforded the freedom of learning, but rather if they are coerced to do so, and thereby fall prey to being believers. And if someone is brought to belief assumptions through coercion, as is the wont of the godlinesses, religions, then there is no insight, rationality, and no true discernment, intellect in all this, which is why rage against those who are connected to the truth originates. From this. 89. But observe and consider all that moves in the firmaments, universe, and happens on your worlds, so that you recognize the signs, evidence, of the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation, and that they are of use to you, together with the teaching of the prophets, so that you finally become knowing, conscious, and wise, as well as fair ones, responsible ones, and righteous ones, conscientious ones. 90. Rescue yourselves from your unknowledge, together with those amongst you people of your kind, fellow human beings, who also want to liberate themselves from their unknowledgeness. 91. Direct your face to the signs, evidence, of the truth, and turn yourselves to the laws and recommendations of the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, so that you no longer belong to those who pray to gods and tin gods that can neither harm nor help you. 92. And do not place anything next to the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation, other than its laws and recommendations. Therefore no gods or tin gods, no priests, servants of gods and servants of tin gods, because amongst all of these there are none who would be equal to the primal wellspring of all wisdom, creation. 93. Now, through the prophet, the truth has come again in a new form to all people of your kind, humankind. So given through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life as it results from the laws and recommendations of the primal power, creation. And whoever now follows this leadership guidance is simply following the prosperousness, well-being of his or her own inner world consciousness, his or psyche, his or her inner nature and his or her entire attitude, kind of thinking mentality. Whoever falls into delusion, however, the human being is merely going astray to his or her own harm and can neither be his or her own guardian nor his or her own master. 94. Therefore follow what is obvious, recognizable, to you in real truth. Be steadfast in yourselves and decide things righteously in yourselves, because you alone are the best assessors of yourselves.